We consistently hear the forward market is dead. There's no strikers on the market. There's no value for money. What if I told you that that might be true, but it might also be a lie, people? What if I told you there was a market opportunity for Arsenal Football Club, as well as others, to potentially sign a 21-year-old whose stocks are rising, who's making inroads into their national team and starting to take their national division by storm? Step forward, Maximilian Beier. Forgive me for mispronunciations. The 21-year-old Hoffenheim player is gaining plenty of plaudits, can play as a striker, can play on the left-hand side, can play as a 10, can play on the right. In many ways, he's like his fellow German and countryman Thomas Muller. They're completely different, but in terms of their versatility, I believe last season he got 16 Bundesliga goals in 42 appearances and 3 assists, and he's been gaining a lot of plaudits. He's been linked with Arsenal as well as many other clubs already, people. After a few loan spells, he's starting to show himself, and I like him. I think he's intelligent. I think he's got good movement. I think he's got a good burst of pace. I think he's got a never say never attitude. I think he's adaptable. I think he's relatively both-footed, even though, I think he's right-footed, and if he's not, then forgive me. But, through my research, I like a lot of what I see. I think he's a very powerful runner, and I think via his heat map, he tends to pull to the left-hand side, and that's where Arsenal's issues are at, people. He's obviously got good height. He's 6 foot odd. He's got a distinct height in this game at this moment in time, people. Again, he's a bit of a hybrid. He can play as a striker. He's tall and gangly, but he also can play out wide as well as other roles. So that versatility could be an attraction. The highly rated player, man, he's come a long way, people. He's been highly rated since he was a teenager. At the time, he was one of the youngest debutants in the Bundesliga, people, and Hoffenheim's youngest ever debutant in 2020, aged just 17 years of age, people. He did spend the 2 previous years prior to the one in question on loan, getting valuable experience and playing time under his belt, most notably at Hanover, where he got 68 appearances and managed to record 7 assists as well as 15 goals. Now, them statistics aren't necessarily eye-catching, but as well as his overall play, he's been getting plenty of admirers, none the least Julian Nagelsmann, who is the German manager, people. He dazzled his way through several youth ranks in Germany, people, playing for the German national team, and he's been going on, and he's been someone that's been highly rated, really and truly, since the age of 15 years of age, people. When he made his debut for Hoffenheim, people, he actually took over from Niklas Süle as being the youngest ever player, people. And he's come a long way. He's been on a couple of loan spells. He's played in the Europa League. He's obviously now a German international, signed an extension, I believe, until 2027 recently. And he's showing his quality, people. In fact, he signed an extension in October of 2023. And I think at 21, he's obviously not the finished article, but I think he's got a decent foundation. He's, played in the Europa League, made his debut, gone on a couple of loan spells, dealt with the pressure of being a highly rated young player. And I mean, he's quite a decent player, Again, there was a point in the Bundesliga, he scored 4 goals in a row and had 6 goals in 7 games. Now, as we know, for a young player, what you need to do is install consistency within your game. So there is going to be some volatility in goals, in assists, and general performance. But for me, I think he passes the eye test. He affects the game across 90 minutes. He's not one of those players who's necessarily just going to score a goal and, people will lap it up on social media, but doesn't do anything. I think he passes the eye test. He passes the statistical test. Obviously, for Arsenal Football Club, he's 21 years of age, so he would tie in with what we're doing, people. And he starred in many a game, people. You look at the wins against Dortmund and Werder Bremen in February and March. You look at when he got February Rookie of the Year in the Bundesliga. And at a point, people, come the end of 2022-23, he was only 4 players that managed more than 16 Bundesliga goals, people. That form obviously saw him get German recognition in terms of their national team in March of 2024, people. Well deserved. I think, his physicality is good. He might not be the most muscular of people, but where he might not be able to win via brute force, his footballing IQ, as you would imagine, of a German international or a German player, full stop, people. He always has this ability of picking his moments, being in the right place at the right time, plays well under pressure, scores some decisive goals. And I know strikers have to be selfish, but I think there's a degree of unselfishness that I really admire in his game, people. As I said, he's come a long way, people, since he's burst on the scene initially at Hoffenheim, and this would obviously be his first significant standout campaign, people. There obviously is a degree of overperformance in terms of the goals he's scoring and overperforming in his XG, but I think his game is defined by a lot more than just scoring goals, really and truly. As I said, he's right-footed, but he can lose his left very well. He can operate as a 9 as well as on either side. You know, he's got a decent bit of pace about him. He's got a good shot on him. You know, he's got quick feet. He's got great link up play. You know, I do think he could improve in the air for someone who's 6 foot odd, but I do think he's quite good at that in that regards, people. And I think when you look back to his coach at the time, Pellegrini Meterozo, forgive me for mispronunciation, when he described him as a special talent and said, above all, it's important for him to get into positions from which he can shoot. He can manage that thanks to his dynamism and technique. I think, you know, he's spot on. And he also said you either have those genes or you don't. And Maxi has those genes to score goals. So he's a proven goal scorer. You know, obviously his form saw him called up into the German Euro 2024 squad, where in truth you didn't really play that much, but it shows his progress. And I think in many years to come, he'll assert himself as a full German international. Again, looking at his heat map, people, he does have a bias towards the left-hand side, which again is an area that Arsenal need to improve the relationships. You look on the right-hand side with the Benjamin Whites, the Odegaards, the Sakas, we haven't quite been afforded that on the left-hand side. So yeah, he's a player that's been linked with us as well as many other clubs. He's done well in the Bundesliga. Apparently he's got a release clause in the 20 odd to 30 odd million pound range or euros range. So again, it would provide a market opportunity and someone that wouldn't break the bank, someone that is versatile, someone that could act as a starter and a rotationary option, and just in short be a stronger option for us. You know, I think I speak for every Arsenal fan where in an ideal world we sign a winger and a striker. If we can't sign both, sign either or. And I think his versatility is one, and I think his stocks will keep going up. And naturally with these German talents, it's a matter of time before, and I know they signed a bunch of players, before you end up at the Bayern Munichs and clubs of that ilk. So he's a player I love. I think he's very intelligent. I think he's got ability to play under pressure. I think he's got, you know, great versatility. I think he finishes and uses both feet. I think he makes great runs off the ball and off the shoulders. I think he's always trying to make the difference. I think, you know, he's someone that can affect the game without goals necessarily scoring. I think there's several improvements he could make. I mean, he's 21 years of age, people. He's not going to be the finished article, but I like what I see, and you can see why Arsenal and a bunch of clubs have been linked with him, and I firmly think he's one to watch. So that's all I've got to say. Whether we sign him is another thing, people. But as I said, that's all I've got to say. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. God bless you all for listening. Check out the rest of the videos. Peace.